Located in the northern part of College Park, Maryland, just a few miles away from the University of Maryland campus, is the Camden Shopping Center. It's your usual suburban shopping center with something extra that history buffs will appreciate. Next to the Sarku Japan restaurant is an area that has ruins of a building. Next to those ruins is a marker indicating the former site of Rhodes Tavern, whose greatest claim to fame is that George Washington, the first president of the United States, dined at Rhodes Tavern, and he indicated this in his personal diary. As the marker says, Lieutenant General George Washington dined at Rhodes December 18, 1798, on his last journey from Philadelphia to Mount Vernon. Here's the reason why Washington is referred to as a lieutenant general on a sign instead of president or ex-president. Washington had grown restless in retirement due to tensions with France when French privateers began seizing American ships. Washington wrote to the Secretary of War, James McHenry, offering to organize President John Adams' army. Adams nominated him for a lieutenant general commission in 1798, and he served in that role for 17 months until his death in 1799. Rhodes Tavern opened in 1730, and it was originally owned by William Evans. A man named Thomas Rhodes operated the business, and that was where the name of the tavern came from. It was said that in addition to George Washington, Benjamin Franklin may have also dined at Rhodes Tavern. However, it was George Washington who wrote in his personal diary that he dined at Rhodes Tavern on December 18, 1798, while he was on his last trip from the capital of the United States, which was then located in Philadelphia, to his Mount Vernon home in Virginia. After the death of the tavern owner, William Evans, in 1806, his daughter inherited the tavern. It remained in the family for 20 years until Evans' daughter sold it to a stagecoach company. Rhodes Tavern was destroyed by fire in 1834. The ruins of Rhodes Tavern gives you an indication as to how big the building really was. There is a remaining white mile marker that says 25 miles to B, where the B stood for Baltimore. Soon after the 1834 Rhodes Tavern fire, another tavern would be erected just a few feet away, which is indicated by this other marker that is located just a few feet away from the Rhodes Tavern marker. This tavern was known as Brown's Tavern, which was named after John Brown, a stagecoach driver and former worker at Rhodes Tavern, who subsequently owned and operated this new tavern. It was also known as the White House Tavern because it was painted in white. This tavern was built on land that was owned by the Stagecoach Company of Richard Stockton and William B. Stokes to service a stagecoach line that ran north and south on the old Baltimore Turnpike, which is now known as Route 1. This tavern had 24 rooms, and it was adjacent to some 1,700 acres of farmland and meadows. It was common to see drovers accompanied by as much as 500 head of cattle. The animals would stay outside in a meadow in a pen that was set up by John Brown especially for them, while the drovers slept in the tavern rooms. Civil War skirmishes occasionally erupted at or near the tavern. John Brown operated the tavern until his death in 1862. His widow continued to operate the tavern for another 10 years. Her daughter, Elmira Brown Molloy, would inherit the tavern. She operated the tavern as a rental residence until 1913 when she sold it. That property would change hands a few more times. In 1940, Felix Irwin Sr. purchased the property where he decided to build 50 individual cottages around Brown's Tavern, which served as the centerpiece of the new cottage motel complex. He named the group of cottages Haven Motel. Each cottage had the latest in furnishings and other luxuries, including air conditioning and radio. Television would later be added to each cottage. Brown's Tavern was used as a place where home-cooked meals for the motel guests were served. In time, Brown's Tavern also added a coffee shop and a cocktail lounge. After Irwin's death, his children inherited the property and they continued to run it, even though the building of the Baltimore-Washington Parkway had reduced the amount of traffic on Route 1, so fewer people would drive in the area where the Delhaven was located. By the 1990s, both the Delhaven cottages and Brown's Tavern were closed down. The historic tavern was starting to deteriorate, and the city of College Park had to frequently deal with the problem of vagrants and drug addicts who would break into the buildings to use drugs and sleep there. The entire complex was heavily damaged by a tornado in late 2001, which led to the Prince George's County inspectors declaring that the buildings were structurally dangerous due to their deteriorated condition. Brown's Tavern and the Haven Motel cottages were all torn down soon afterwards to make room for building the Camden Shopping Center, the Camden Apartments, and a nearby IKEA store. The ruins of Rhodes Tavern are located right next to the Sarku Japan restaurant. There are a couple of tables outside where on a nice day you could buy food from Sarku Japan or any of the other nearby restaurants and cafes, take it outside and sit and eat your food while looking at the historical ruins where George Washington and maybe Benjamin Franklin once dined at. The remains of Rhodes Tavern and Brown's Tavern are located at this address, 10260 Baltimore Avenue, College Park, Maryland, 20740. The ruins are available to visit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As for the nearby shops and restaurants, their hours of operation vary according to each business.